This is LP Giobbi.
Listen up, children.
You are listening to Femme House Radio.
I said listen up, children.
On Diplo's Revolution, Sirius XM.
A wonderful night is made as much by the dancers as the music. Guided as much by the spirit of joy in the room as by the hand which reaches for the next record. Each of us has a role in tonight's experience. We all play in the band.
This is LP Giobbi, and I founded Femme House, a 501c3 foundation and educational platform that teaches the technical areas of music making for women, non-binary, trans, and other marginalized gender identities. Every week, I will be interviewing and spotlighting women in music while bringing you the best dance tunes from around the world. Our next guest on Femme House Radio is Melbourne-based producer, multi-instrumentalist, singer, and songwriter Vetta Borne. She brings together elements of soul, R&B, and pop to create her own unique sound that has been taken to the next level in her latest EP, Amelia. And Triple J has taken notice as well, putting her single Kissing Strangers in full rotation and making her the unearthed feature artist earlier this year, calling her an acclaimed hit maker. Hello, and thank you for being on the show.
Thank you. Acclaimed hitmaker. Oh my god, what an intro.
Hair flip.
I love that for me.
Absolutely. So what is your origin story? How did you get into making music and specifically producing?
I started a long time ago on YouTube. I was like 13 and 14 making YouTube videos. Kind of it inspired me to like start producing, I think, just because you can't really use other people's music. So I had to like remake old instrumentals on Logic, and they sounded terrible, but you know, it got me to where I am now.
That is how you learn. That's exactly how I learned too, trying to imitate the music that I loved, and it never came out right. So
yeah,
that's my sound.
You're like, I'm just gonna go with it anyway, whatever.
So Vetta Borne, that's a nod to your grandmother?
Yes, yeah.
how
My
is
grandmother's
that?
name. Her name
Vetta
is
Borne?
Violetta Sherborne. Like Violetta Sherborne. So I just like I trimmed it, cut it up a little bit.
Amazing, I love that. I go by Giobbi, which is my mom's maiden name, so it's like my way of like reclaiming the matriarch. So I got excited when I read that in your bio. That's very cool.
Beautiful.
Are you too, is she still around?
No, she's not around. I mean, that's the reason why I started the whole thing.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so beautiful. She would be so proud.
I know.
That's awesome. Yes, amazing. Was she an artist or a musician as well?
No, she wasn't. I wish she was. I feel like she would have had like some creative little genes in her, but I never really saw anything.
Yeah, amazing. Well, that's so cool that you're doing that. Okay, so it's funny that your schedule, I'm kind of obsessed with asking artists about what their schedules are like. Like, do you have a routine? Like, I'm constantly trying to fine tune mine and like figure out like where do I practice and when do I do this and what part of, like, do you have a set schedule that you go by?
Not really. I mean, recently, like, I've been doing a lot of producing for other artists, so I kind of wake up and straight away do that, like jump on Zoom and just like get to talking, get to working. But it changes like every week or every day. Like, there's no real schedule for me.
I am desperately trying to have a schedule, and it always goes to hell, and every day is so I probably just need to like let it go. So that good for you for having done that. Wait, so what is do you have a division between when you work on Vetta Borne and when you do production for other people?
Yeah, it's something that I learned like the hard way. I have to separate my time, because I can't get into a space where I'm like working for somebody else and knowing exactly what they want and then also knowing what I want at the same time. So I kind of go week by week. So this week I'd be producing for other people. Next week I'll be working on my own stuff.
Amazing. So you just schedule like this week is the schedule. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So what does it look like when you work with when you produce for other people? Is it other singers that you're producing for, or what does that look like?
Yeah, mostly other singers. Usually it would be in person, but obviously with everything happening, I can't really travel anywhere, so everything has been on Zoom, which is great. It's also very chill because I get to work from my bedroom, and we can kind of jump on whenever we want. Like, we don't have to be in the studio by a certain time and blah blah blah.
Totally.
Yeah, so it's definitely cool, but it definitely slows down a lot of the process of finishing a song.
Yeah, right. So what is your do you have a certain like production style that other artists are going to you for, or are you able to just like whatever the artist wants, I'm gonna make that happen?
Yeah, it's more catering to what they want. I guess they can hear from like my own music, like with the recent EP that I dropped, it's like things that I have produced. So yeah, so they have like a good sense of where I can take songs, but for me it's more about what they want and like, you know, what caters to them as an artist.
That so did you produce your entire EP?
Most of it, yeah. I produced Kissing Strangers with two other people though, so that's the one that I definitely had some help on.
Dude, that is your I can't I listened to your EP recently and was blown away by how just like clean and your production is insane. It's so
Thank
nice.
you.
I mean, it's up there with like some of the pop greats, you know? Like it's just I feel like
Oh,
I'm a dance artist, so like my production like is dirty and weird and like it can be, but like your yours is like radio clean.
thank you. I mean, it took a while to get there. Like, I definitely had to learn how to take some things out of production because I get very attached to little parts, but it was more about learning what to actually take out and what the song actually needs and not just throwing all my ideas into one thing.
Ah, that is so cool. And do you work in Ableton or what DAW do you use?
Yeah, I work in Ableton now. I used to work in Cubase. But I constantly changed. Or was like I was on Pro Tools first and then I was on Logic. Like it just keeps me creative, kind of being in a new thing where I don't know how everything works.
That's amazing. That helps you. I started in I was working with a band first. This is how I kind of learned how to produce. So I was in Pro Tools and you know, we were like in studios and I had to sort of learn how to do that. And then moving over to Ableton, I actually thought that I thought it would be easy, you know, like oh it's just another DAW. And actually I found it incredibly not intuitive at first, and I was my productions got so bad, so that's amazing that you can just bounce around, and like it just took forever to figure out, you know, where all the even just like automation, the simplest things, I just and the, you know, and the shortcuts, and when you kind of know that it's going to take you for, I kind of got lazy, like this is going to take me so much longer to do this thing in this new program, and so then I just like wouldn't do it.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. Yeah, it kind of makes me work for it a little harder. I'll be like, how do I do this? Maybe I should try this, and or I should learn how to do this. And I don't know, I feel like it pushes me more creatively because I feel like if I stay in one DAW, I start going to like habits into things, and I'll just do what I automatically think is cool in a song. So it's good to keep it exciting.
So how has the pandemic been for you? I mean, I feel like you guys handled it the best. It seems you really shut that shit down. But like in general, for your for your for your creativity and stuff, how has that been?
Honestly, it's been great for me personally. Like I think I'm kind of used to working by myself in a room, and just hustling like that. So it's actually been really nice because everyone's kind of left me alone to just do my thing. Like no one's really calling me, so I kind of just like I feel like I'm isolated. Like it's a real lockdown, but it's good because I go into like my own world when I'm making music. Like I just literally feel like I'm in another place. So it's been really good for me, honestly.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Good for you. That's and like have you been able to have as much like creativity? I find that I was writing the best like on trains and on airplanes, like with no distractions and you know everything changing around me. And I found it was a little bit harder than I thought to be creative in my room. But it sounds like you've powered through that.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely times where I'm just sitting on the computer, like clicking everything, just being like, "What am I doing here? Like, what? I give up on music right now." Like
It's nice
definitely go through phases. Yeah, you definitely have those phases where you're trying for so long and you're like, "This is just not it." Like, no. But I don't know. It just takes like one little thing to like spark you and be like, "Oh, I know where I can take this sound." And you know, like it's so weird how music works like that. Like sometimes you do just have to sit there in one place and click through all these things to find something that inspires you. So
totally,
yeah,
like that question, you know,
me.
like what does creativity just, you know, does it just happen or do you have to be there to catch it or what? I actually think that like creativity is like you just have to sit there and like keep clicking and then something, I mean, I don't know, for me that's how it works. Something will just come. But as a lyricist, which you're writing for your own project, like that. I was talking to a dear friend of mine, Sophie from Sophie Tucker, and she used to have a document where she's constantly, filling it with vocal ideas or lyric ideas, I guess. And she was saying that during the pandemic that got to 0. Like she pulled everything she could from it while they were writing, and then like it just was not filling the well at all because she was around no new stimulus, and as a lyricist I feel like I'm so jealous of lyricists because like part of your job is just to like live your life, and then that's how ideas and things come, whereas like a producer you could just like stay in a garage and just do it. So was that part hard at all, you finding lyrical content? I mean, you wrote an EP, so maybe not.
I mean, it's for producing, definitely staying in one place helped, and as a songwriter and a lyricist, like I definitely have a million ideas just in like one note. Like if I am like out living my life, I always, if I'm feeling inspired, I'll write a little thing in my notes just of how I'm feeling and what's happened. And so I have like a whole page of things that I've went through, and it's easy to like read those things and kind of reconnect to them and like remember how I felt in that moment. And if I'm producing something that is making me like feel a type of way about a certain sentence, then it just kind of all connects. I'm not really the kind of person that like goes out and I'll be like, I have to go to the studio, this just happened, like I have to get it off my chest. Like I'm not that kind of person. I have to like process my feelings and then get back to it another day.
Amazing. Oh, it's so cool. So what does have you started conceptualizing what your live show for Vetta Borne looks like? Is there a band? What does that look like?
I mean, it's a bit hard. Like, I would love to have like a full band, but at the moment I can have a drummer and a bass player.
Awesome.
Yeah, like it's gonna be amazing. And I've also found non-males, and it's just like, it's a whole vibe. I'm like, it took me so long. I was like, I just really want like some bad bitches like with me on stage, and then I found them. Yes!
This is okay. Now I'm even more excited about your project. How did you find them?
It took me so long. I think it actually took me like 4 months of asking people around. Like I know people, but I don't know that many people. So it just took me a lot of asking literally everybody. But I finally found some that are in Melbourne, because there are a few, but with like female musicians being so limited, a lot of them are always booked and already touring with other people, so it was really hard to kind of pin somebody down, but we got there in the end.
So rad. Before I became a dance producer, I was in this all-female electronic band, and we were doing like all live synths on stage. It was so fun, and all the women were it was just such a beautiful, unique experience working with just these female musicians. It was such a precious time. I'm so pumped for you to get to have that. So are you going to be playing anything on stage, or like running tracks or Ableton Live or anything like that?
I will definitely be playing guitar. I've tried singing and playing bass at the same time, and my brain just won't let me do it. Like, my brain's just like, what are you doing? And I start like singing gibberish. I'm singing off key. I'm playing the wrong notes. Like, it doesn't work for me.
Wait, that is amazing. So how many instruments do you play?
I'm like mediocre at probably like every instrument that I could get my hands on. Like I definitely started off playing like piano. I learned that first. Okay. And then I learned guitar. And then a couple years ago I started learning bass.
Okay. I learned piano, and then I definitely stopped there. I was like using my brain on two different, like, I'm good here. So that is insane. So when you're writing in the studio, are you using real instruments part of the time, or like how much are you doing hardware versus software?
I definitely do everything hardware first. Because I'm not the best player, like it doesn't just come to me like to play a guitar note and be like, oh yeah, this works there. Like it takes me like this note, this note, this note, strum, record, okay, next note, this note, like it's a very slow process for me, so I have to do it all after I produce everything.
No way. Oh, that's
Yeah.
so cool. And then also that will help you learn for your live show.
Yeah.
Fun. Because I found the hardest part of being in the band was transition. Like, we would make everything, in the computer, and then trying to figure out who's going to play what parts and how are we going to play them, and like how can you actually tour them. Like, we made it with this vintage synth. I'm not going to take that on the road. So like trying to reprogram a non-analog instrument, like that was like took probably 10 times the amount of time it took to just like write the song. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think the hardest thing is like I don't know musical theory. I don't know like my scales or anything like that. So they'll be like, what chord is this? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I just have to like sing the chord. I'll like, that doesn't sound right. This sounds right. That doesn't sound right. This sounds right. Like, it's so hard for me to explain to people what I hear. So that's why I
I'm
play
actually
it myself.
So much more impressed with that because I have the theory, like I have that down, and my ear actually is trash because I spent my whole life relying on the theory. Like, I knew, I went to school to study jazz, like I knew what chords would go over what notes, and like could read the lead sheet, and like, but then if you took that away from me and I had to just use my ear, like I really struggled with that. And I wish that I had first learned and then gone back and learned the theory, because I just rely on it so heavily that I find that when I'm in the studio with like real artists like yourself, I'm like, oh my god, please don't, like, please tell me exactly what the chord is or else I'm gonna freak out. which is embarrassing and shitty. So good for you. I wish I had done that.
I mean, if your team's nice, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Everyone's understanding.
That is true. So your new EP is fantastic. And as I know, you wrote it during pandemic. And so how was that experience?
It was a weird experience. I was meant to go overseas to write the EP. Like, I knew I had to write a project, but I wanted to collaborate with other people. And I hadn't really produced for myself before, so I kind of relied on collaboration before the lockdown. But once the lockdown hit, I couldn't leave the country. I hated Zoom sessions. They just weren't a vibe for me. So I was like, maybe I'll just start the ideas by myself. Like, I can do that. And then time went on. Melbourne was in lockdown for like 6 to 8 months. So I just wasn't seeing anybody, and I had to get these songs done. So I was like, maybe I could just do it myself. Like, I'll just have a play and just see where it takes me. And I ended up finishing the whole EP by myself. I was like, oh, actually, maybe I don't need anybody else. Besides with Kissing Strangers, I wanted some help. But yeah, a lot of them, I kind of surprised myself.
Wow, that is beautiful. I think, that's so interesting, because I find that, like, if somebody had told me how hard it would be and how much work it would take, I probably never would have like started my own project for myself, like I had to think that it was easy, and so I just like kept doing it, and over time and eventually I figured, so kind of cool that you just thought, well, let me just start this, and then one thing leads to the other, and sometimes that's how it works. That's beautiful. Yeah,
it's all about self-belief, I realize now.
So true. The most important currency. So what advice would you give your younger self? This is a bit of a headier question, but looking back now that you had this beautiful new project, what advice would you give your younger self?
I would say trust yourself more, trust your instincts, and stop trying to do what you think other people think is cool. Just do what you think is cool. That's the advice I would give to myself. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Well, it sounds like you are following that now based on how unique and beautiful your EP is. So huge congrats on that. I really look forward to seeing the live show with the full female band. That's going to be amazing.
Yes.
Make sure to stay tuned for when that starts happening. And thank you so much for being a guest on Femme House Radio.
No, thank you for having me. This is fun.
Giobbi. Listen up, children.
You are listening to Femme House Radio.
I said listen up, children.
On Diplo's Revolution, Sirius XM.
A wonderful night is made as much by the dancers as the music. Guided as much by the spirit of joy in the room as by the hand which reaches for the next record. Each of us has a role in tonight's experience. We all play in the band.
This is LP Giobbi, and I founded Femme House, a 501c3 foundation and educational platform that teaches the technical areas of music making for women, non-binary, trans, and other marginalized gender identities. Every week, I will be interviewing and spotlighting women in music while bringing you the best dance tunes from around the world.